Et touche ma vie, pásame ma visage. Then you gotta hit him with the Et touche ma vie, pásame ma visage. Et touche ma vie, pásame ma visage. Et touche ma vie, pásame ma visage. All right, all right. Um, Welcome, brothers and sisters, to another video. And of course, you already know why we're here. If it's not to edify our spirit, why else are we here? If it's not to glorify our Creator. But in who? Yahushua, Yahusha, in who? Yahuwah Elohim, our Adonai. All right. Now, favor unto you all, and thank you for joining me. Now, of course, today, like always, we always talk about the modern and the old being the relatives of the old and the time of now. And unfortunately, I think there's certain topics that I didn't want to recover again, but I feel like it has to be understood. There's a lot of young ladies nowadays that are looking up to some of the grown adult women that I'm not gonna say that they don't know any better, but they're stuck in their ideals of a lifestyle. Excuse me, which in a lot of ways are very incompetent when it comes to dealing with men, because a lot of times women will like to, no, this is no disrespect to you, my sisters, but a lot of times the modern women, let me say it like that, the modern women will like to make adjustments, but without understanding that there are two sides to those consequences that come. To basically say accountability is not a thing that goes in their mind. Like, you can't attack somebody and think the person is not gonna attack you back. You get what I'm saying? Like I don't condone violence at all, but there's certain aspects on, being accountable, where if I give you a scenario and say that if the food industry uses sound and colors, right, which is light, right, to manipulate their customers and their clients to feel a chemical reaction that is considered hunger, right, as a result. How much so do you, and I'm not saying I'm relevating hunger and sexual aptitude or aptitude. I don't, correct me if I say the word wrong, but just desires in general. They can control your desires. It can make you sleepy, it can give you energy, it can inspire you. Imagine how you dress in this modern time where everything is sexualized. So if you don't take accountability on what you wear and you say that men are a problem, you should also consider that you caused a chain reaction for a man to react somewhat of a way for them to react the way they did, let alone the way that you address the situation. We don't always have to be, what is his name? We don't have to be a superhero where we always have to fight physically to get our words across for us to be understood. If you are rarely intelligent, you know how to sometimes you have to bite a bullet and go on about your business. Okay, so I think this is what women fail to be at, is being humble, because they want to seem, they want to make themselves seem humble, but when you argue a lot and when you are not able to understand peace rather than your own gratification, it does not give you the aspect of humility. It's one thing if somebody's antagonizing you or disrespecting you, but if you're causing problems to a whole bunch of men that you've never met, and you're saying most, that is problematic, because most men are not even worried about a specific person. They're not worried about a lot of the things that you're concerned about. You give them reasons to then be worried about it by triggering them emotionally when they're not even in that state of mind. So you have to understand that. We are all accountable. So just like when, when people are talking about these assault charges and all of these actions that men do take, I believe that that's not a good thing. Of course, I feel pity for a lot of the women that go through those things. But if, let me give you an example. If you go to the bar without any backup, and you don't call your Uber ahead of time for that period amount of time you're gonna spend in that club or nightclub, whatever that it is. That's why going to these things are not a good idea for a lot of these women that want to be and men too, that want to be these city girls, city boy, culture, whatever that it is. You go to a bar, you get highly intoxicated or high. What do you think is gonna happen? You're gonna be vulnerable. That is an accountable situation that you must take a decision on. If you go out there in this type of condition and the cause is what gave you the effect of the situation, yes, it's gonna be on the person who did you wrong, but at the same time, you are also accountable because you put yourself in that condition. You wore the type of clothing, that would allow or give men or women, because it's not just men that do these assault, actions and this perverted stuff. It's not just men. There are a lot of women out here that do that as well. Okay, because if we're if we are going to be realistic, right? Women have to be really cautious on how the world works. I understand you shouldn't have to walk outside your house worrying about somebody robbing you, doing something to you. But I understand, right? But we have to be realistic of what we know of right now, because a lot of people want to talk about men are problem, they don't understand women, this and that, no abortion, this and that, or aborting the mission, this and that. But you chose to get intoxicated or not. You chose to collide body parts with a man that gave you these conditions, because if a woman and a man get together, there is a high potential chance that a baby is going to be made. So when we're not really taking accountability on those aspects of thoughts, it kind of renders the problem when it comes to a lot of the things that goes on in this world, because now it's just opinions of how we feel, rather than looking at things from both sides of the situation and understanding that, okay, maybe if I don't have sex, right, I lessen the chances of these problems occurring. Maybe if I don't go outside and drink in my house or the place that I stay at, maybe I wouldn't be dealing with some of the things that I deal with. Do you get what I'm saying? Because a lot of people get emotionally triggered when realistic, actual truth is being spoken to them. You cannot make men accountable for the things that you have to understand. That if I shoot myself in the foot, I'm gonna bleed. Like, if you think that you're not gonna bleed from shooting yourself in the foot, right? Because you took the gun, you loaded up the gun, you put the rounds in there, the ammunition, and then you clicked it and recoil, pow. You're gonna have a hole on your foot, or some or a missing toe or two. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, anytime you make a decision when it comes to these aspects without holding restraint, without any type of control over yourself, you are shooting yourself in the foot. And men, take notes as well, because this is not just for them. That's why I use an example and said men as well, because this is problematic. Instead of, like, you can't rally a whole bunch of women and teach them these things. They're gonna grow up to hate men. You didn't come in this world without a man, even if you grew up with a father or not. I didn't grow up with my father, but a lot of you didn't come in this world without a man. So you're telling me that, aborting a life is bad. Now listen, if a situation when it comes to a health problem occurs and nothing is done, and it is the will of our creator that the baby is meant to go, I'm not going to argue with that, right? Because I can only do but so much. The doctors can only do but so much. It's only but the glory of our Father that He's either going to allow it or not. Not let alone if there's a lot of complication of health problems, I wouldn't want my kid to suffer through those things at all. I don't have kids, by the way, but if I did, I wouldn't. I love kids. So I personally wouldn't. Yes, women have the rights to their bodies, but remember, you can't adjust. You cannot literally say that who's the better president when it comes to these things because they don't relate. They might have the same aspect of thinking, or one might be for aborting missions and the other might not be, but they're both old and senile as presidents. Like they should not, one of them might not be senile, but they're still old. It would be better for one of their kids to run as presidency than them, because at the end of the day, I don't personally believe anybody that's in their 60s or 70s should be president in any way, form, or manner. I don't care if it's just your last dying wish. I do not care because the way that people are looking at this situation is nothing but a mockery. Where where we literally have a president, right? And everybody's making fun of their president. Do you think that everybody in their other country make fun of their president out loud, like all the way like boldly, the way they do in the United States? No, other countries, other states, they laugh at us. They laugh at us. They laugh at us because they don't even take the United States serious. And you think that because we have nukes or whatever the case is, no, fam, they laugh at us because educational wise, we don't meet the requirements. There are third world countries out here that have a higher intellectual status quo than the United States. So we're worrying about how much we hate men and then categorizing almost all men in the same aspect of wrong when we should not be worried about those things the way that we should. Like if you have your personal ideal, that's because you've dealt with a certain type of man that was not in the actual adjustment of your lifestyle. Do not categorize every man in that way because at the end of the day, you're taking hope from a lot of young women that could potentially be happy in a marriage. Simple. It's very simple. There are so many things in this world where like I said, we're dealing with presidents that are in their 60s and 70s and 80s. Why are you guys voting for these type of things? You're telling me you're going to vote for somebody that can possibly sit down and probably go to sleep just because they sat down and they can be exhausted because they walk too much. I don't I don't know if that's such a good idea. And people are making, this a whole entertainment. Like this is not funny to me at all. It is not funny. It just shows to you, like, if people have not noticed it yet, they're showing you how much they don't care about the states. That they're hiring people that are in their 60s and 70s to be president. Like 60s, I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't even mind a 60-year-old president. But if you're in your 70s or 80s, no, your vice president couldn't even back you up. Let alone imagine the previous president. So it's just it's like I said in my previous video, same coin, different sides, heads and tails. Same coin, same agenda, same narrative. It's not a joke. They're showing you how much they don't care, where they're willing to put people that are senile that will literally just be out there to make jokes just because they can and tell you what to do without even you knowing who's really. Remind you, the government don't make money off of the states. They're funded by people in power and by families that hold leverage over a lot of land. That's who are the ones that are in charge, not your government. So if you ever think that your government care about you, no, the government only hears the word of those that are literally funding them, because if they don't fund them, everything else go down. Why do you think there's inflation going on? It's just simple. It's simple mathematics. Like, you don't even have to think about it too hard. If you know, you know. You got to also remember that the word government did not exist um 3,000 years ago. So it had to come from somewhere. Somebody had to design this system. So that means that there were fundings that were being brought into what? Into the time. So that means there are people that are funding the government. It's not like the government existed. No, they might have existed, but they were called a different name, and it wasn't even the government or just a different name. It was just you could say a group, a congregation of people that held power and that were making politics over things, over their economy. For a lot of the people that think that the British left the land and they never had people here as spies or sent people here as spies, like, you're kidding me. You're talking about the King of England. The King of England. You're telling me the kings don't have spies, agents, and all that? You telling me they don't have any of these things? You guys are kidding me. So when I talk about all of this stuff where we got to worry about, women needs, yeah, it's understandable. You have your rights and your needs and how you want to express yourself, but let's stop pointing fingers and start being realistic, my sisters, my brothers too. Because a lot of you are not even Christian to begin with. So when you start pointing fingers, you have to remember that the people you talk to are Christian. So you can't say that you don't, you're okay with people having their belief if that's what helps them, and then contradicting yourself by trying to prove them wrong in a sense of their lifestyle. That is not working properly. I might as well call you a practitioner of lies. You can state facts, but you can't be an inconclusive what? An inconclusive indoctrinator. You have your theories based on what is good. Inconclusive indoctrinator. You are contradicting by using claims to back up your well, by using evidence to back up your claim to prove wrong, when it's not even about people being wrong, is about people understanding. So when you miss the point, the purpose of people understanding and knowing the truth, rather than all of these extra aspect of things that are being added as a distraction, we can then solve the basis of things, which is the family, the root of what the problem is. So by you not wanting a family in any way or kids, you are destroying exactly what is supposed to be held. Because a lot of the people that grew up without homes, or either both parent, well, either one parent or the other, whatever the case is, or no parents, they have trauma. And you know what happened when people have trauma? They throw tantrums, they get emotionally triggered. So they don't know how to deal with their emotions. So they throw it on people and they make other people toxic. That's what you call a contrict when you're contracting other people's problems when it comes to, toxicness. If you're toxic and you're around people that are toxic, you're going to become toxic, because if they're not happy and they see you happy, they're going to wonder why you're happy. So they're going to make you unhappy. The same way, there are a lot of people in relationships that are not right, that are not fruitful. And because one is unhappy, but the other person don't know how to, avoid the other one, They're both unhappy, so they make each other unhappy, and they like being unhappy together for the wrong reasons. And then when somebody end up losing their life on the night on the CNN or whatever, you hear the news on ABC, somebody did this and that, and then they followed this person, saw that they were talking to another person, they got shot. How do you think these things start? Because people are not holding themselves from sex. The one thing that people need to stop doing, like it's just a whole bag of M&Ms. You just giving anybody a Skittles, or yeah, you just give anybody a piece of candy. Like, stop doing it, brothers and sisters. Stop doing that. You cannot be pickers and choosers of these things. These things have like they have a profound consequential aspect of an effect that you don't even you can't you would not be able to physically see with your own eyes. You're only going to see it take shape, and when it takes shape it's already too late. This is how demons work. They're always trying to fix you up with people. That's why I personally don't put myself in them scenarios. I don't care if somebody say they like me. I'm going to know if they're for me or not. Somebody can say they like me. Somebody can say they don't like me. I could care less, because my mind is not even in that sense of, oh, this no 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 no. If I find you attractive, I find you attractive. Move on. Because I could find you attractive, but conversation wise, you are unable to conversate about actual topics that are relevant, rather than just always making jokes every 10 seconds. I like to talk about deep stuff. I don't like to always joke about everything. And when I do, there's a time to joke. There's a same way people say there's a time to work and there's a time to play. You like money? That's your choice. All I'm gonna say is if you cannot live without money, you can't build a house without money, you can't filter water, start fire, anything without money, without having to go out here and hunt. I mean, without having to go to the market and kill animals. You don't know how to garden, you don't know how to do all the natural stuff, you'll be doomed. Money gonna be your best friend, the same way the computers are gonna be your best friend. You're gonna be dumbed down. And that's what they want. For you to have a dependent, like a calculator, the government, things that can do AI, things that can do things for you without you even trying. Like opening jars. We need a electronic jar opener, and people out here just buying that stuff. It cringes. It cringes my blood, like personally. But let's get into the word though. And the topic is going to be compassionate as Eli is to you, for humility and loyalty is the key to his affection. Be like Christ. I this was a random pick, right? But obviously it's relevant to this topic that I just spoke of previously. Okay, so we're going to start with what? Like we always do. Contradiction, because contradiction of the past is always shown in the modern time. So let's start with contradiction, and we're going to be in Saints Matthew, the Chronicle of Saints Matthews, and chapter 18, and we're going to be in verses 6. That's where we're going to start in with the contradiction. We have one, two, three, four contradictions, and we're going to make this quick. All right. The subject says, Christ doesn't play about you. And what does it say in the verse? For in my name they will receive me, but those that offend you, they be better off dead or suffering. So anybody that is not in Christ that does you harm, they're gonna get they gotta count their days, because there's gonna be a lot bad that's gonna come for them, especially if they're not gonna choose salvation. And I'm gonna always pray for the best for people regardless. What is the next verse? The subject the next verse says, it says, the world is confused so much They use their guilt to empower their hate. Prior to the previous topic I spoke of, not this current one, but still relevant to this. It says in the verse, so be careful of the world, for its desire in similarities is opinionated, and those who are offended usually are the ones who are blind. But be careful also at how they utilize their hate due to their guilt of self reflection. Wow. So a lot of people are just angry because they've been through things that they can't fight, that they didn't enjoy in their life. So they want to throw that at other people. Like how? What makes you feel like you have to hurt somebody because you've been hurt? You're definitely not being Christ-like. A lot of people read the word and they go to church one time a week, and they call themselves Christians, and they curse every time. They speak bad, negative on everybody every time. Negativity is always in their mind every time. It's terrible. That's the reason why. And like, mind you, I was not over here like, oh, this is going to be a good verse. No, I just said, let's go to this verse, and that was it. And you see how everything is relevating to the topic. Everything is relevating to the topic. I prayed about this. Don't think that I didn't pray about. I prayed about this, and it's relevating to the topic. Let's continue though. The next verse says, the subject for that says, don't try to convince someone by force. Be their example. So when I was talking, let me give you guys an example before I go into the scripture. When I was talking to these people on their panels, right? I don't know their names personally, but I respectfully I followed the young lady on her panel on her account. And just in case if they ever hop on and I happen to be in the spirit and I feel like I have to, well, not me, but I'm led to speak in that situation. Um it's like a lot of people are forcing their narratives on others rather than wanting to understand, because it's better to understand people than to just force everything. Because when you don't understand somebody, you're gonna hear, like if I speak from A to Z and all you're doing is nitpicking from A to Z every word that I'm saying rather than A to Z, you're not we're not on the same page. You've been against me the whole time. So that's exactly how I'm gonna look at it. I'm not gonna take offense to you by doing that. I'm just gonna be like, there's no point of me continuing on watching your content, on me speaking about this, because I did my job. I gave you things to think about logically and you refused it. That's how I look at it. All right. But let's get into the script. And it says, if it be an issue regarding the matters and the laws of Eli, report them to the church, and if the church fails to convict them, let them be, for he is now a heathen before you. So just like anybody that don't believe in Christ, if it be the scenario as well for me to use as an example, um, if somebody don't believe in Christ, or if they used to believe in Christ, it's not my job to go and make myself wait unto them for them to fall off the bridge. No, I have to level up the playing field so that at least I can see where they're at, as they're hanging on to the last thread before they fall off that bridge. You know, I have to be on the same field for me to first see where they're at. Then I can, find a way to go across the bridge. If I have to climb down a little bit, jump in the water, swim across the water, and then, whoa, 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 climb back up and then give them a hand, or whatever the case is, especially if they don't know how to swim, give them a hand and then pull them back up. I can't just be like, hey, Christ said this and this and that and that and that. And that. You should. I would love for you to believe my words. But because you don't even know the words, or if you know the words, you're selectively choosing what you want the word to be. And because you haven't been taught any better, you don't know how things are to be. So I can't just pick a word out of the book. and just be like, yes, this and that. I could, but if it's not going to help the situation because you don't know and you're not willing, and I have to give you an understanding of what I'm talking about first before I get to what I'm talking about, and I give you the example of my testimony to inspire you, not out of bigotry or hate or selfishness, but just so that you don't feel like you're alone. Because a lot of people have lost hope, and that's the reason why they are in the situations that they're in right now. Remember, the word hope is belief. So faith is also belief and it's hope. So if you don't have hope for something either in the present, the past, or the future, you don't have faith because it never existed in the first place. Mind you, time shows the disposition of how long something gets to. So if it's already happened and already existed, so it's destined to already be. No matter the alteration. So when we understand these things and we're dealing with the things that are happening right now in this world, people are forcing people to have faith on things that they don't even understand. So you have to keep people on a common ground. You're not better than them because Christ said that I came to serve, not to be any better than anybody, not to try to destroy people's morale. You're supposed to encourage people to want to learn. See, learning is not about this, it's not in a sense of trying to always, no. People get into the Pharisees and the scribes, they didn't get into heated arguments. The main reason why they were upset is because anything that Christ said was based off the word, right? And then he not only that, he wasn't yelling at them. And because he wasn't yelling at them, they had no reason for them to do anything to him at that moment. That's the reason why they had to find something that he said that was wrong. Besides the fact that he was ruining their business, their trinkets that they were selling, these false doctrines that they were selling to people, and situations. Regardless, besides that, they weren't really arguing. It's not like they didn't know that he was a teacher or a rabbi or some type of somebody or prophet. It's not that they didn't know, they knew they just didn't have any faith. They knew because most of them couldn't do even 10% of what he was doing. I said 10. They can even do 20% of what he was doing. They could do probably 5% if they weren't already controlling the demons. And if you understand what I just said, please, good job for you. Real talk. Good job for you. But let's get back into the word. The next verse says, and as far as the subject, it says, people forget good acts of service real quick, and when they're miserable, they love putting misery on others. And that's the subject. And the verse says, but the same man that was forgiven went out to his servant and harassed his servant of the servant's debt he owed. And that talks about the king who spared his servant, and for his servant to not spare his own servant. So, and why is that important? Or we're going to get into that. And that's about forgiveness mainly. But the next verse subject talk about unsettled trauma. And the script says, just like the talented man in his previous situation, power influenced him, and the cycle continued by his servant begging him for more time. Instead of showing mercy, he cast his servant into prison until his debt was paid. Seeing this, the guard of the king reported the incident back to the king due to the poor act of kindness the talented man showed. So our Creator has given us chances of mercy, and we're not even showing mercy and forgiveness and love to other people. That's terrible. It really is. And not only that, we lie about it. That's terrible. That is terrible. Give me 1 second. It's terrible. And a lot of people go out here preaching all the good word and all of this, but then they always want something in exchange. It's understandable you want something in exchange, but my brother, if you're doing something out of the kindness of your heart, my sister, if you're doing something out of the kindness of your heart, can't be shallow with it. Just can't be. That means that what you're doing is in vain. It has no cost. So when you're not gonna make it to a certain place in the heavens, don't get upset when this video gonna get replayed and it's like you had the chance to do good, but then you showed a little bit of interest in a sense of always trying to gain something in return rather than doing it from the bottom of your heart because you actually care. It will be replayed. But let's look at an inspiration, and it's still all gonna be relative regardless. The first inspiration verse, the subject says love with innocence, and the script says the disciples altogether asked Christ, who is mainly honored in the heavens. Christ then responded by saying, it is those that are like babies, they are the ones that are called forth in the midst of Yahuwah. Then he told them, if you all be not like babies, then you will not enter the kingdom of heavens. So anyone who humbles themselves and show you respect, know that I will also show them the same respect. Christ is literally telling you, be humble. See, a lot of people, they're losing a lot of real respect in Christianity. That's why this BET award stuff, people are being disrespectful because they don't have real respect. If they did, they wouldn't be doing half of the stuff that they're doing. And I don't like talking about stuff, so that's why I don't name drop. You know who you are. So if you feel convicted or feel some type of way about it, personally, you that's just called a guilty mindset. I don't have to name you. You know who you are. Simple as that. But as far as like all of these acts, what more should I say? It's already shown. Symbolism is very important when it came to the old days and how people used to speak. So imagine now where like there are people that don't know what symbolism is, not in the sense of language, but in the sense of like seeing what it is for in nature, how it's interpreted. I didn't go to school to learn this stuff. I understood by looking. The spirit is in me. Everybody don't speak in tongue all the time. Some people get prophetic visions. Who knows? Prophecies. Who knows? Right? A lot of people get all of these gifts. It doesn't mean that we're going to be telling everybody everything that we know. Like, no, it's not for me to be speaking about things that are not meant for people to be known. It's only for things to appear. Like if I'm given a vision, right, and I'm supposed to speak on it, I would speak on it, trust and believe. Everything happens for a reason and it happens on purpose. Just like when Jonah tried to escape from him going to tell, I don't remember, I think it was the median lights or something like, I don't remember, but when Jonah escaped to try to, not do the will of our creator, and what happened? He got swallowed up by a fish. The fish did not kill him, and he still ended up doing the job, if he wanted it or not. It still happened. He was chosen and he was picked. So, regardless how people look at it, things that are meant to be will happen, and what is not will not happen. I'm a direct person, but sometimes I can say certain things that people want to understand, but the ones that really understand would understand. I'm very cautious. Somebody can offer me $1 million, and I'm gonna be the type of person to be like, "What do you want for that $1 million?" Because I know you're not just giving me $1 million just for nothing. What exactly are you asking of me before I take this $1 million and put it in my pocket, put it in my bank account, or whatever the case is? What is it that comes with that $1 million? Because I know that personally, people don't become $1 million just because they work hard. No, you have to be a part of a society. That's the majority of the people. The minority of the people that make a couple hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe a couple millions here and there, once in a blue moon here and there, that are not in the society, majority of them end up joining the society. They end up joining the movement. Something always end up coming in the way. So what is it that people think when people look, like, if imagine you're looking at somebody and you're looking at them, skin, bone, blood, all of that, vessel, everything, like you're, looking through x-rays and people don't even know it. Should you be afraid to talk to the person? No, I think you should be yourself. But if you feel afraid, like I said, it's a guilty mindset. If you feel convicted, it is a guilty mindset. A lot of people are guilty for things that they know they're wrong for. And that's the problem of today's time. When you know you're wrong and you feel guilty about something, it shows. There's a difference between responding to things that are illogical and things that don't make sense, but it shows. I can make songs, that has all of these sexualizing things, and I make inspirational songs. I don't just make worship songs and stuff like that, or rap lyrics, whatever. Like, I can make like straight worship lyrics or rap lyrics or songs, like vocal singing and all of that. I can do that, and I actually plan on doing that too. But I want to make inspirational, type of, narrative rap. I don't have to shout nobody out, no group association, foundation of this and that. I don't have to do none of that. As long as I know what I'm talking about and what is understood in my lyrics, that's all that matters to me. I'm not here to associate my words with all of this group, this and that, because the moment you do that, people are gonna be like, "Oh, you said my name, you got beef," and this. And this is another thing that I'll be talking about. People don't know how to mind their business, so learn how to avoid by not associating yourself with people that you don't need to when it comes to the things that you do. Even if you don't get a billion views, you don't get a million, offers, you don't get a whole bunch of, it shouldn't matter. You're doing this because you like to do it. You like people to listen to what you're doing. There's obviously an agenda when we look at everything that's going on in this world. It's obviously an agenda, but let's get back into the word though. We got to make this a little quick because I don't want to keep you guys here all day. And the next verse, the subject says, "Stop the toxic addiction." And the verse says, "So if it's you being the root to your own problems, I would advise you to cut ties with whatever that causes you to sin, for you'll be better off without them. For it is delusional influence that will lead you from righteousness if you encourage them. So you must reject them, for you will be better off not falling in the pits of hell. So don't be spiteful to these little ones, for they do no wrong, and they are angels upon the heavens before Eli." So if you know that listening to this, playing this game, talking to this person is gonna be what's gonna destroy you, why still do it? Like I like the subject for this specific verse says, "Stop the toxic addiction." If you're in a relationship with this person don't want to accept Christ, sometimes leave the person. I don't mean separate. Sometimes you just got to take a break. Don't go out here giving your body to people. Take a break. Let the person make the decision. And if they choose not to be with Christ, and that's what you choose, hey, go and find somebody. Somebody's gonna come along the way. Somebody that's gonna make you happy. That's actually genuine. They actually care about you and not trying to control you and your baby and your house, whatever the case is, your job, whatever. So you can't base that off of just one person. That makes you somewhat of a narcissist, a misogynistic person. That's what that makes you. If it's a man or woman, it doesn't matter what it is. That's where I stand on. That line between man and woman, so that people don't get the wrong idea, because that's what is the problem. Misunderstanding the level of comprehension. Everybody wants to get glory about something, but they haven't achieved the ability to even have the wisdom to be able to discern between things that are good or bad. They support each other, but it doesn't mean that it's a good support. Even if there's a whole bunch of people, there's going to be a whole bunch of mockery. That's the reason why I'm here, though. And I speak of my Father because I'm here. Let's go into the next verse. The next verse subject says, "Don't try to convince someone by force by the." Oh, I already read that one by chance. Forgive me. And the next verse says, "Always have a forgiving heart and mind, or have a forgiving heart, mind, and soul. Don't be stupid. Either be loving, don't be stupid either. My apologies. Always have a forgiving heart, mind, and soul. Don't be stupid either. Be loving even when others think you're stupid. Show integrity and sympathy." So in my lyrics, I said, show the love that you never got and always be humble. A lot of people are going through trauma and they prefer throwing their trauma at people rather than, destroying their trauma and allowing healing to come in their life. They'll fight you if you even get close to them and their old past. They'll try to mold you like a whole lion. And what does the verse says? The verse says, "Then Peter came from forth and asked Christ, how many times can one forgive another?" Peter then asked, "Is there a limit?" But Christ then said to him, "You must always forgive, no matter the amount of times, for a king is accounted for all of his servants' mistakes." Accountability. So if you are an example, if you are an example, right? My apologies, give me one minute. If you are an example, forgive me. If you are an example, right, people would be falling because of you. So you set the example of tone, the example of action, the example of intention, love, truth, integrity, and loyalty, trust, understanding, knowledge, wisdom, discernment. You set that. It's your job, Christians, to be doing so. And I'm not talking about the one denomination. I don't even know why we have a denomination and we are all worshiping the same creator. Well, I do kind of know, but we're not going to get too far into that. If I were to give anybody here a clue, let's just call it the Roman Church. They have all the information, but yet we are always deprived from things. That's why we must do our own due diligence of reading and staying on par when it comes to knowledge. They're not, and not only that, I just got attacked not too long ago, but that felt like a whole breeze in the wind. That didn't even faze me at all. But to say this is easy to blame, but it's harder to fix. It's easy to destroy, but it's so hard to fix, to glue together. It's so hard. There's so many different pieces that are shaped differently that don't always fit the right place in this puzzle. So we have to understand exactly what we're dealing with because sometimes we don't know what we're dealing with and it makes it harder. So when you're already in a disagreeable mindset, how are you going to be able to listen to somebody? How are you going to be able to relate to somebody? Just because you're a woman and somebody's a man, just because you're a man and somebody's a woman, that doesn't mean you can't relate to them. And that's the problem. People are not showing enough love where their love is supposed to be shown. It's problematic. It's problematic. So to say, please show love and stop this toxic stuff. I already said enough of today, and I'm gonna leave it as that. But much love to you all. All right, because I'm not gonna talk about people. I'm not gonna state names. It's not my job to judge anybody. It's people's job to feel exactly how they're supposed to feel if they like it or not. I know people might tell other people, hey, if you are in an actual good relationship, and you might tell people, hey, um, or a counterfeit might come in your life and tell your specific person, female or male, oh, I think this person is cheating on you. Understand that when you don't have trust in yourself, somebody can tell you anything, and you're gonna believe that. So if you're doing exactly what your creator tells you to do, and you have faith, you can't see that person, but what about the person you can see? You're not even teaching the person anything. If you were teaching the person something, you would at least been talking to the person, being able to understand. Like I said, there are aspects to these things, and we gotta learn them. So, that being the end of my statement, because I said a whole lot. Well, not I didn't say enough, but I don't want to hold you guys up here forever, and I don't have eternal storage on my device. I have a limited amount due to alchemy's standard points, right? But yeah, love you all so much. Take care, and a kiss on to you all. And if somebody didn't tell you to love you today, tell them I said I love them, and I love you. Love unto you all once more, and take care. All right.